In a world where eyes smile while minds scheme, your openness is not seen as honesty, it's seen as data. You think you're being kind, transparent, or real. But in truth, you're handing your enemy a map straight to your vulnerabilities. Today, we will expose a quiet war. A war where your emotions are the battlefield. The problem is simple: you're being read like an open book, and it's time to close it. In the delicate game of power, the one who shares the most is rarely the one who wins. You may believe your openness is a sign of strength, a badge of authenticity, a noble offering of your truth to the world. But in truth, it's a mistake, an amateur's mistake. The moment you start revealing yourself freely, piece by piece, emotion by emotion, you give others the ammunition they need to shape, manipulate, or destroy you. This isn't paranoia, this is politics. This is survival. When you speak openly, you think you're being real, honest, maybe even brave. But what you're actually doing is mapping your internal world for others. You're laying down trails of your pain, your patterns, your attachments, your triggers. And don't assume the listener is harmless. The most dangerous people aren't loud. They're quiet. They don't interrupt you. They don't challenge you. They just listen, they nod, and they take notes, not literal ones, but mental, emotional, psychological ones. It starts simply: you vent, you confess, you reveal what drives you. Perhaps you talk about your fear of being ignored, or the pain of being abandoned. You admit you're desperate for recognition, deeply wounded by betrayal, and the person across from you, they smile gently, offer support, lean in with concern. And in your mind, that moment becomes a connection. In theirs, it becomes calculation. You see a friend, they see a blueprint. This is where most people lose the game. They don't realize the value of what they're giving away for free. Their emotions, their dreams, their wounds, their self-doubt, their impulses. These are priceless commodities in the hands of a skilled manipulator. Every time you share a pain, a weakness, passion, you give someone else the tools to control you. You make yourself readable, predictable, controllable. And if there's one thing Machiavelli would warn you against, it is being predictable. Once they know what you fear, they know how to make you submit. Once they know what you desire, they know how to lead you like a dog with a leash. They'll whisper what you want to hear, promise what you crave, mirror your values until you believe they're safe. Then one day, when it benefits them most, they will use it all against you. And you'll never see it coming, not because they were smarter than you, but because you told them exactly how to win. Understand, this openness is not evil, but it must be strategic. You do not owe the world your inner map. You must speak in riddles, not in rawness. You must master the art of saying less, of revealing pieces without giving the whole. Let people think they know you. Let them believe they've seen into your soul. But what they see must be a reflection of your design, not a window into your truth. If they cry with you, it must be on your terms. If they believe your struggle, it must serve your outcome. Because every court, every clique, every relationship is a battlefield masked by civility. The most innocent listener today can become your rival tomorrow. And when that day comes, they won't fight you with swords. They'll fight you with the very secrets you gave them. The way you doubt yourself when you fail. The trauma you never healed from. The approval you keep chasing. They'll use those weapons not to confront you directly, but to guide you, quietly, invisibly, into corners, into compromises, into submission. And the worst part, you'll think it was your own decision. In truth, the one who controls the narrative isn't the one who talks the most. It's the one who listens the best. But in a world obsessed with self-expression, being real, most people don't realize they're betraying themselves in every overshare. And the manipulators don't need to dig. You're already handing them your entire identity wrapped in the illusion of honesty. What you think is bonding is actually branding. Branding yourself in a way that can be used, sold, or punished later. You must become more than that. You must become unrateable, unknowable, unshakable. You must learn the difference between connection and concession, between expressing yourself and exposing yourself. The wise do not fear being seen. They fear being understood too soon by the wrong eyes. And that is what you must guard against. Because the more predictable you are, the more control you surrender. And in the art of power, there is no forgiveness for the overly open. Only defeat, orchestrated by those who were smart enough to stay quiet. There's a moment when you feel like someone finally gets you. You open up, not just in words, but in energy, in trust. You tell yourself, this person understands me. You feel lighter, safer, seen. But in that moment, you've fallen for one of the oldest tricks in the book. Because connection, when manipulated, is nothing more than a psychological trap. People pretend to relate, not to bond with you, but to get past your guard. It's one of the most powerful tactics in human behavior, the weaponization of empathy. Not the real kind, not the kind rooted in care or compassion. I'm speaking of calculated empathy, performed, exaggerated, and designed to disarm you. You don't recognize it at first. That's the beauty of the trap. The conversation feels natural. Their questions don't feel invasive. They nod in rhythm with your pain. Their expressions match your mood. They tell a story similar to yours. You think, how rare. Someone who gets it. But what you've missed is this: they didn't relate to connect. They mirrored to extract. When someone is too quick to understand, too eager to share your story, you must pause. Because true connection doesn't rush. It unfolds. But when you're dealing with someone tactical, they skip the slow trust building. They simulate it, build emotional intimacy at warp speed. And in doing so, they lower your defenses. You stop being careful. You stop filtering. You hand them the keys. People trained in social manipulation know that humans crave being seen. They understand that validation is a drug. They know the more they reflect back to you what you already believe or feel, the more you will trust them. And once that trust is in place, once you believe they're safe, they become invisible in their influence. You start adjusting to them, listening to them, relying on them, never realizing that every piece of yourself you've handed over is being cataloged, sorted, and kept. This is not always malicious. Sometimes it's instinct. People want power in conversations. And power often comes not by dominating, but by appearing harmless. What could be more harmless than someone who understands you deeply? That's the exact reason why it works so well. The ones who appear soft, relatable, and warm often wield the greatest psychological leverage, because you never saw them coming. There's another layer to this trap. Once the manipulator has earned your trust, they don't need to ask questions anymore. You start oversharing. You fill silences with stories. You explain things that were never questioned. You reveal motivations, pain points, preferences, all in the name of just being open. You think you're connecting, but from their side, it's a study. And you're the subject. Now think, how many people in your life know exactly how to calm you down, how to provoke you, how to make you feel guilty, how to push you into apologizing, how to keep you close when you should be walking away? These aren't instincts. These are the results of studying you, of listening more than speaking, of creating a false intimacy that feels like love but functions like control. What's even more dangerous is the shame you feel once you realize you've been trapped. Becomes a second prison. You doubt yourself. You replay the moments. You ask, how didn't I see it? But you did see it. Your instincts whispered. You just overruled them in the name of connection. You thought vulnerability would build closeness. And maybe it would have? If the person across from you was honest, you weren't dealing with honesty. You were dealing with performance. Some of the most skilled manipulators don't raise their voice. They don't argue. They don't even lie directly. They simply give you space to pour yourself out while giving you very little of themselves in return. They study what makes you open up. They perfect the art of making you feel special, understood, chosen. And all the while they stay protected, unreadable, safe behind their mask. You think it's a friendship, a partnership, but it's not. It's a transaction, and you're the one paying. This is the danger of false connection. It appears warm, human, organic. It's engineered. The emotion is real for you, but the design is strategic for them. That's why it works. Because they don't need to deceive you directly. They only need to make you believe that what you're experiencing is rare, special, genuine. You fill in the blanks with hope, with meaning. They just give you the stage, and you perform. Every manipulator's greatest tool is the illusion of shared experience. If they can convince you they've walked your path, you'll invite them into places no one else is allowed. But here's the truth. They weren't walking with you. They were watching. They were learning. They were calculating the cost of your openness and measuring what they could gain from your trust. And when they had enough, they stopped pretending to walk beside you and started guiding your steps for their own agenda. There is a kind of power that doesn't raise its voice, doesn't fight for the spotlight, and doesn't rush to explain itself. It lingers in the air like smoke, heavy and unreadable. That power is silence, and the ones who know how to use it rule more than conversations. They rule perception. They dominate presence. They shift the balance of control without ever raising a finger. Most people speak to be heard. They speak to fill the space. They speak because silence makes them anxious. They think words will clarify, convince, connect. But in doing so, they give everything away. Their intent, their anxiety, their need to be liked, their fear of being misunderstood. They reveal all of it just to avoid the discomfort of a pause. That's where they lose the game, because the person who fears silence fears themselves. Silence is not weakness. It is not absence. Silence is structure. It is the invisible architecture of influence. When you know how to hold it, people start filling it for you. They begin guessing what you're thinking. They project, they interpret, and in trying to decode your silence, they reveal far more than they would in response to your words. Their imagination starts working overtime, and if you stay silent long enough, their fear of your thoughts will become louder than your actual voice ever could. Most people don't understand this. They equate silence with passivity. They think not speaking is the same as not knowing. But the Machiavellian mind knows better. Silence doesn't signal ignorance. It signals observation. It forces others to speak first, to reveal their strategy, their motivation, their truth. While they rush to explain themselves, to justify their stance, to convince you, you say nothing. And in saying nothing, you absorb everything. There is a psychological discomfort people experience when someone doesn't respond. It's like a social itch. They feel the urge to keep talking, to clarify, to backtrack, to fill the awkwardness. They begin giving up more information than they intended, just to make you say something. They reveal insecurities, expose inconsistencies, confess details you never asked for, and they don't even realize they're doing it. Why? Because your silence became a mirror. It reflected their own internal chaos. Even in conflict, silence is dominance. You think yelling gives you power. That's a myth sold to children and amateurs. The loudest person is usually the one losing control. Silence during an argument isn't avoidance, it's direction. The person who stays quiet controls the pace, the tone, the escalation. While the other screams, rants, and flails, the silent one watches, measures, plans. They don't react, they calculate. And when they do speak, every word lands like a blade. Silence also forces accountability. People can't twist your words if you didn't say any. They can't misinterpret your intent if you haven't declared it. When you stay quiet, you stay clean. While others tangle themselves in justifications and explanations, you remain untouched. And in the aftermath, your silence becomes myth. People will argue about what you meant. They'll assign motives. They'll debate your position. But you gave them nothing. And yet you hold everything. In negotiation, silence is a weapon. Ask a question, then say nothing. Let the tension build. Let the silence stretch. Most people will answer your question and then keep talking. They'll talk themselves into a corner. They'll reveal their price, their urgency, their weakness. And all you had to do was let the silence speak louder than your curiosity. The deal was never made with logic. It was made with pressure. And silence applies it with precision. Even socially, the person who doesn't speak much becomes a mystery, and mystery is magnetism. People are drawn to what they can't easily read. They wonder what you're hiding, what you're thinking, what you're capable of, and that curiosity becomes obsession. It gives you psychological presence even in your physical absence. You stop needing to chase attention. Your silence draws it to you. There is an elegance in not rushing to be understood, in watching more than explaining, in letting your presence speak without performance. Silence forces people to earn your words, to wait for your insight, to pay attention when you finally decide to speak. And in a world addicted to noise, the person who can master silence becomes unforgettable. Most people speak to show confidence. But the Machiavellian knows the reverse is true. It is the confident who do not need to speak. It is the powerful who let others reveal themselves first. It is the strategist who waits, watches, and listens. And in doing so, gains an advantage that words could never provide. The most dangerous person in the room is never the loudest, never the most liked, and never the most obvious. It is the one whose intentions cannot be read, the one whose emotions are not easily seen, the one who says little, whose presence lingers in the mind long after they've left. That person, the unreadable one, is the one with real power. Because in the realm of influence, clarity is a gift you give carefully, and mystery is a weapon you carry quietly. There is a hunger in people to categorize you. They want to put you in a box. They want to label you, define you, predict you. They feel safer when they know who you are. They feel confident when they understand your patterns, your preferences, your past. But once they believe they've figured you out, they stop respecting you. They stop watching closely. They become relaxed. That's when you become vulnerable. Because when someone knows what you'll do next, they can outmaneuver you before you've even acted. Being enigmatic strips that weapon from their hands. It introduces doubt into every assumption. They can't tell if you're emotional or strategic. They don't know if your silence is patience or punishment. They question your motivations, your beliefs, your limits. You become a riddle they can't solve. And in their search for clarity, they expose themselves. They make mistakes. They speak too much. They overcompensate. They underestimate you, or worse, they obsess over you. Mystery creates fear, even when it's undeserved. Fear of what you're thinking. Fear of what you might do. Fear of your next move. And fear, when used correctly, becomes the invisible leash that keeps people in check. It's not about being threatening. It's about being unreadable. The unknown is more powerful than the obvious. The unknown forces people to approach you with caution, hesitation, with respect. You must learn to be deliberate with what you reveal. Never speak every thought. Never express every emotion. Let people wonder what you're feeling. Let them guess what matters to you. The moment they can predict your reaction, they begin building strategies around you. But if they never know where you truly stand, if they can't separate your performance from your principle, they'll tread lightly, because no one attacks what they can't define. The enigmatic individual isn't cold or distant. They are composed. They are precise. Every word has weight. Every silence has purpose. Every action is calculated. And because of that, they become a presence that's felt before they speak and remembered long after they've left the room. While others try to impress, the enigmatic one observes. While others broadcast their intentions, the enigmatic one conceals. They do not rush to correct assumptions. They let them linger, because sometimes being misunderstood is more powerful than being understood. In the art of power, your unpredictability is protection. If they don't know what motivates you, they can't manipulate you. If they don't know what angers you, they can't provoke you. If they don't know what you value most, they can't use it against you. But if you've laid all your cards on the table, if your mind is an open window, they will shape their approach until they find a way in. And once they're in, they will never leave empty-handed. Consider how predators hunt. Not through confrontation, but through observation. They watch how the prey moves. They wait for the pattern. They calculate timing. Humans are no different. In social, political, or personal environments, people observe your habits, your triggers, your tells, and the more visible they are, the easier you are to trap. But the person who is difficult to read is difficult to trap. They become the observer, not the observed. Mystery doesn't require you to be distant. It requires you to be intentional. You can be kind without being transparent. You can be warm without being exposed. You can participate without performing. Every layer you leave undiscovered is a layer of power you retain. The moment someone feels like they completely know you, they stop fearing you. But if there's always something just out of reach, always something unsaid, you become someone they can't quite hold in their hand. And people don't destroy what they don't fully understand. They hesitate. They study. They delay. And in that delay, you gain time. And time, to the strategic mind, the great ones never show the full picture. They leave shadows. They speak in fragments. They hint at more than they reveal. Not to confuse, but to control. Because what people think they know about you is never as dangerous as what they don't. And the moment they feel uncertain, they begin to behave. Carefully, cautiously, respectfully. Not because you threatened them, but because you gave them nothing clear to fight against. Now you see it, don't you? This world, this smiling, nodding, listening world is not innocent. It is observant, strategic, quietly predatory. It doesn't come to take by force. It waits for you to hand over the keys yourself, through openness, through misplaced trust, through the hunger to be seen. You thought your honesty made you noble, but it made you visible. You believed your vulnerability made you lovable, but it made you legible. And once you're legible, you're controllable. You're no longer a person. They've turned you into a pattern. Predictable, contained, played like a game. But today the script flips. You now understand the true nature of power. It doesn't belong to those who are loud. It doesn't belong to those who are open. It belongs to those who are silent, unrateable, and deliberate. The ones who speak when it matters, and say nothing when it doesn't. The ones who connect carefully, not emotionally. The ones who withhold more than they reveal. Not because they fear you, but because they understand the cost of being understood too easily. Power is never given. It is never asked for. It is taken, quietly, patiently, and without permission. From now on, let them guess, let them doubt. Let them try and fail to read you. Because when they can't read you, they can't reach you. And when they can't reach you, you win.